Welcome to my studio. Just joking. I don't have a studio. This is my bedroom. This is my bedroom because I'm poor and can't afford a studio, and it would also make no sense. So if you clicked on this video, I've been painting for about 2 months now, and you might be asking, why do you want to learn how to paint? Because I have been for the last decade stuck in corporate hell. I first, thought it was the right decision for me, but as I have gotten to the end of this decade, I am like, wow, this is not the life that I imagined that I would want to have. And with this AI thing, the creativity that I had in my job is now gone. So painting has been really lovely, and I would personally and financially and professionally try to make it my business. And that's my goal for this year, is to maybe make a sale. Because I'm just learning how to paint and I have no big expectations. I know I just have to keep grinding at it, and I've been enjoying my process. If you're new to this channel, hi, I'm Tak. And if you're returning, hi, I'm Tak. Yeah. So what has my progress and process been looking for the last 2 months? And have I been painting every day? Absolutely not. I originally put like a challenge to myself to paint for 15 days in landscapes. I never achieved that. I think I painted 7, and that's like halfway. So props to me. But in the last 2 months, this is basically everything I painted. I started out on paper because I was like, oh no, like canvas is really expensive. But then I discovered canvas panels, and these are very affordable. These are very affordable, and I really like the size. So let's go through them. So I feel like with most people, you start out with fruit. I started out just trying to figure out shapes and how to put highlights and shadows. And then stems were hard. I also tried more complex shapes, like a garlic. It did not turn out well. Yeah, you can see there, and then here I gave up. That's my first day. Yeah, I got really into fruit. This one turned out really well. I think this is one of the best pieces of fruit that I've ever painted. And then at some point I was like, I should really try to find a style way too early in the process, but here's my attempt at drawing some plants in my living room. And I like how I was just like, leaves are just shapes. And yeah, that's how it turned out. I have been learning from Paint Coach. Here's actually an attempt at a tree, my first attempt at a tree. It is not good. I don't know why I chose the orange background. It just didn't turn out well. But as I was saying, I've been trying to learn from Paint Coach on YouTube because that's the first thing that came up. And I've been trying to follow his instructions of just like paint big shapes. And it's not apparent here, but here's just like another plant, like a little aloe vera or a little cactus. It's a good vibe. Here I tried to paint tomatoes, but I got lost in the process. I don't also know why I chose a red background for red tomatoes, and then the highlights are too highlighty, and then I don't know, the shape and the shadows aren't working. As I was saying, I was trying to follow Paint Coach. I was like, okay, maybe I should learn how to paint landscapes. Painting landscapes would help me understand like color mixing and how like light works better. So here's my first attempt ever. Once again, another attempt at a tree and clouds. I had originally painted these fruits first, and then I was like, oh, I should try to paint a landscape. And I've been trying to like save paper in the beginning because like paint is expensive. Painting material is expensive. So I was like, okay, cool. I wasn't happy with it, but it was a very good learning experience. And then the day after, I was like, okay, let me go back to something easy. Another apple, a crab, and then a little pumpkin. The pumpkin doesn't make sense with the lights and shadows, but I like it stylistically. Then I painted some plants in my room that are hanging up. And then I tried to paint the whole wall, but I had no reference for, what's the word? Yeah, the word that I'm looking for is how things are laid out in a painting. I don't remember like where the focal point is and how everything is laid out so it makes sense and is interesting to the eye. I do not remember a particular word, but I failed here because this window should not be here. The focal point is this mirror, and this is not a window. This is a mirror, and like everything was going good, and then I also messed up because I started painting not thin to thick. I just started throwing thick paint on everything. Yeah, so it turned out really gloopy, and I was like, ooh. That's not a vibe. So great learning experience. Also, it was my first attempt at clouds that I really liked. I was like, oh yeah, the clouds are clouding. And because I had such a good time with clouds, I was like, okay, let me try a better landscape. So this time I picked like a rock structure, reminds me of Texas where I'm from, and then a little cactus and like a little bit of foreground, more detail. I personally don't like it, but once again, it was a really good learning experience, trying to learn how like shadows and light works. I really like these rocks. These like 2 rocks. I feel like I did a really good job of like this tiny bit of highlight and this tiny bit of highlight and then the shadow of the rock and then like the darker shadow of the rock and how it works with this ridge. I don't know. I had a good time there. And then this starts what is considered master copies. So then I read somewhere, heard somewhere, I was like, okay, to learn how to paint, you should learn how to copy first. So I was like, okay, let me copy old masters' landscapes in a very small scale so you don't get lost in the details. Because I feel like every painter gets lost in the details. So here I'm just trying to work with just like really, really big shades. I was like, okay, there is some type of tree ridge here, some type of shrubbery, and then the clouds, and then like this haystack, and then like a field. And from a distance, I think it looks really great. And then if you like really look closely, like you bring your face to it, it loses it. But I like how that looks. That's the kind of style that I like and what I've been going for. And then I discovered canvas, affordable canvas boards. So let's start here. This is where it really takes off. I know it's not very exciting, but here's a little mango. Yeah, it was my first time painting on canvas. So I was like on a canvas board. So I was like, oh, there's texture. Like it feels like something. I was like, oh, how do I don't know if I like the texture, but yeah, there's a little mango. And then here's another master copy. I don't remember the names of the people that I'm copying. I have like a list of things searched up on my computer. Yeah, so here's like a little waterway and a little sailboat and a little windmill. And then like an abstract cloud, like, you know, like a hazy day. It was okay. I did get lost in the detail here. Like I really wanted this sailboat to work. I think I repainted it like 2 to 3 times. And yeah, that's why it's like kind of smudgy over here. But overall, I had a good time. And this took a really long time to paint. Someone I was following on YouTube said that these little like 4 by 7 inches canvases should take like 30 minutes to paint. I think this took me 2 hours. This took me 2 hours because I was just like so lost. Like this tiny wave has to be right. Everything. Yeah. So I was trying to move away from that. So that's where I got onto this little like walkway, this pedestrianscape, and this took a significantly less time. I think this took about 40 minutes. This one I was like, okay, trees, bam, and then shadows, walkway, people. The color mixing here got kind of lost when I was like, I can't mix the right shadow for this yellow, and I probably can do it now, but with the color mixing skills in the beginning that I had, I was like, I can't mix this color, I can't figure it out. Yeah, but I really like the people. Like they're not super detailed, but I feel like it works really well. That people were just like 4 lines, and from a distance, you're like, oh yeah, that's a person. And then we got my first attempt at what is this called? An ocean. This is my first attempt at an ocean. Oceans are hard. It's like the blue of the ocean in contrast with the blue of the sky, and then trying to like naturally get the flow of water onto land without it looking funky. Yeah, I'm not particularly happy with this. I don't think I'll be painting oceans in a long time because I don't enjoy painting water in that way. And then we got like a house between some trees. This one I also got lost. And the trees, I think, not the trees, these houses definitely need more detail to make sure that like the lights and the shadows really like shows where the roof is and like the dimensions of the roof, because like these roofs should be going in and then up, but like there is no shadow or highlight there, so it doesn't make sense. And then trees in this way are a hard time for me. I get better at them, but at first, like trees are still a hard time. Clouds are okay, not my best clouds. And then like I start understanding foreground a little bit more. I'm like, okay, how far away does it look, and how vertical strokes bring the foreground forwards, and then horizontal strokes feel like a little bit farther back. Here's one that I enjoyed. It's like very dark. It's like a treescape, and I thought I had lost. I thought I had lost it, but then when I painted these like stalks on the trees, it really came together, and I'm happy with it. Here I cropped into a photo, like it was a significantly bigger painting, and I was like, oh no, I only want to paint this one piece. The word that I was looking for earlier is composition, and I was watching a video from Paint Coach about composition and how you can like crop into photos and kind of like change the photo how you want it to look better as a painting, because you want something that's focused. Or in this style of painting, you want something that's in focus. I was like, oh, I want the house in focus. There's more trees and there's more clouds and there's more foreground as well in the original painting. I was like, I really like this hut. Let me paint this hut. So I painted this hut, and I'm actually very happy with it. I could do some more work in the foreground, but I was like, oh, if I put in too much detail here, then the detail will get taken away from the hut. Yeah, so learning a lot. Here's my next big attempt at painting water. This one is a little bit more still, like a lake. So you have to get these like reflections. I think I did really well on the reflections, but then on the actual like lake part, I kind of lost it. I didn't know how to like paint it with like the slight waves, slight disturbances. That made no sense to me, and it's still quite difficult. But I had a really good time painting these mountains and like just throwing in some red for just fun of it. The clouds, I tried to get a little bit more like sunset vibes. Didn't really get the color mixing well, or even the transition, but it was a learning experience and I had a good time. And this is my first time getting the reflection, so I was like, oh my god. And then here's a little road. This one was a lot of different colors, and it really challenged me on how I can mix colors and how I can make them all work together. Overall, I think it's pretty decent. Like, I had a good time. It was definitely challenging, and there are some decisions that I made that I wouldn't make again. One of the learning experiences as a painter, as or like a developing painter, is realizing the mistakes I've made and how I can do it better. And it sounds really bad, but I compare myself to other artists to learn, so that I can learn how to be a better painter. I'm not just like punching myself down like I'm a terrible painter, this painting looks terrible. I'm like, okay, how are they doing this area? How are they doing this area? Like, watching someone paint and their decision making and their problem solving has been very enlightening to help my own problem solving and decision making. Because at the end of the day, I feel like painting is a lot of problem solving. You have a lot of problems just like thrown at you, and you're like, heck. So this starts my journey of being like, wow, I'm tired of painting landscapes. Let me paint some animals. And I had heard that like geese, goose, ducks are pretty easy. They're like a really easy form. And I had been sketching some ducks and birds, so I was like, okay, relatively familiar with the form. Let me try to paint them. So this is my like first attempt, and I'm pretty happy. The background, I just threw green, shades of green, brownish green everywhere. But then the ducks themselves, because ducks aren't actually completely white or completely yellow, they're a reflection of the sky or the grass below them, or the clouds. So white is like a blue, and then like the highlights are like whitish yellow. So yeah, there's that. And then I'm gonna keep painting geese or ducks. I have a hard time with reference photos. I'm just like, that's some sort of water bird. So more stillish water, a little bit of a reflection, and I've been getting better at these reflections, and I'm having a good time. Referring back to Paint Coach, he says, if everything is in detail, then nothing is in detail. So I was like, okay, let me not spend too much time on the reflection. Let me just kind of just sweep, blop, blop, blop the reflection and then like really focus on what I want the eye to be drawn to, which is, you know, the duck. It's literally sitting in the middle of the canvas. So yeah, I had a good time there. And then I've been following someone on Instagram, and he's also been really trying hard and developing as an artist, and he painted a duck butt. So I was like, okay, let me try to paint a duck butt as well, so I don't have to worry about the head, because the head is sometimes like intimidating to me. So I was like, let me just paint the ass. So here it is. Yeah, not my best work on water, but I was really trying to learn how to like draw ripples in a way that makes sense. And like this haziness and this reflection of the duck being underwater, I think I did a pretty decent job. And then we move on to something a little bit more silly. Open mouth birds. Very difficult. I was like, I don't know how to make this natural. I feel like this line here is way too straight. But I'm overall pretty happy, and then I just threw a flower on top of his head because, you know, silly vibes. And then at this point, I feel like I'm pretty confident in drawing ducks. So here, I learned that there are ducks with like little afros. They have like, this is just like a natural occurring thing. So I was like, oh my God, I really want to paint this. And this time I went with like a darker, like green blue lake. That was like, you know, maybe there was an algae bloom. So yeah, there's this little reflection. And then I really like how I've been leaning into the style of just like big brush strokes and then trying not to blend, because I'm painting with acrylic and blending is just, it's hard. But I like this style. Even if I move over to oil paint, which I might, I want to like keep this style of just like big blocks of color. And then I was like, okay, let me try something new. Let me try to paint a bear. He's okay. He's really dark overall since it's a black bear. And I felt it's really hard to get contrast of like highlights and shadows. Yeah, because he's just like black all around. So it was just really difficult for me, and it's above my skill level. But I had a good time painting him, and I like his face. A friend told me to paint the duck that is standing in a hailstorm looking up, playing with, like, it was a viral clip for a while of it being, I don't remember the song, it's like something cry. Yeah, but I lost it. It was like too zoomed in, and I tried to get the hail, but this is like a good experiment. I'm like, oh, if I make the duck bigger, it gets really hard to paint. So I was like, why did I lose it here? What decisions did I make that made this so freaking hard? So then I went small. So then I went really small. I was like, okay, here I'm blending like some knowledge I have of landscapes and clouds. I was like clouds and then like geese. The composition here is like almost everything here is pretty dark. Even like the cloud here is pretty dark. But then the geese are like really, really bright. So your eye is like, wow, geese. And I'm like, oh, interesting. Composition learnings. And then here is a slightly more close-up pair of geese that I painted recently. And yeah, like dark overall. They're just standing on dark grass. This one is more in focus than this one, because once again, if everything is in focus and nothing is in focus, I was like, oh, I don't actually have to try super hard on the one in the back. I have to try pretty hard on the one in the front. So yeah, I'm happy with how that turned out. The yellow is too yellow, but the lighting in my room is not optimal. Like after the sun starts going down, I can't see shit. Yeah. And then yesterday, I had my first attempt at painting a cat. And I am actually really happy with this. I want to keep painting cats, but it's so intimidating because there's so many colors. It's like a more complex shape. The eyes are super important for a cat, but I feel like here I got it pretty decent. And I like the little nose. And then the shape of the head. Like this is where I spent most of the time trying to develop the detail of like, how do I shape the head in a way with paint that you have this little shadow here that leads up to the nostrils. The mouth is still a little bit hard, and I had a really fun time with the whiskers. I was just like, at the end, the whiskers was like, wow, wow, wow. And then my actual painting process is pretty, I think, standard. I start with an underpainting, and then from there, I draw the outline of whatever I'm trying to paint. And then from there, I'm like, here are masses of color. So for this cat, I'm like, here is orange, here is gray, here's white. And then the face is a little bit more complicated where I try to get it relatively right. And then after that, I'm like, okay, let me then and only then get lost in detail of trying to figure out where is highlight, shadow, and then the little bits in between. So you might be asking, Tech, what paints did you use to make those amazing creations? And I would tell you acrylic paints, really affordable ones, because I was like, heck, what if I spend a bunch of money and I hate this hobby that I'm trying to develop? So here are the paints that I've been using. They're Winsor, this is like, it's too bright for the camera. It's a Winsor Newton gallery acrylic, like still pretty beginner level. And I only have like base colors because I really wanted to force myself how to learn to color mix. So I got a fat tube of white, just a fat tube of white, blue, burnt sienna, raw umber, a red. This is cadmium red hue, and then cadmium yellow medium hue. I can get most of the colors that I want. They're not, some of them aren't super vibrant, but I've learned that if you kind of make a muddy color next to it, it just like makes the color pop. So I'm like, okay, learning. Another thing that I learned is super important for acrylic painting because it dries super fast. And I was originally just like doing it on like a plate or like a little palette in just open air. But if you get like a little wet palette, it works so much better. There's like a little wet sponge here, and this is like a piece of paper that is like, lets some of the water pass through. And then the paint still, like this has been for 2 days and it's still wet and usable. It will mold though. Like the paint will start to mold. So I have like disinfectant spray that I use to clean my cell phone. And I just like spray like pss, pss, that twice in there and then close it. And then it stays fresh. It stays not moldy and not disgusting. And then you have usable acrylic paint. You've made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for being here. And if you haven't subscribed, it would mean a lot if you were subscribing. I also sponsored this video myself with my mail club, something I created recently on my new website. You get a high quality print of one of my paintings, a letter about the painting, and then a poem about the painting that pairs with the painting. Because I also write poetry, something that I've also been really getting back into. And that's it. I hope you had a good time of watching my painting progress. And I hope that you too find inspiration to also start learning to paint. I think one of the hardest things to do is just starting. You just have to start and be bad. Be bad at it, and then you get better at it. Yeah.